Obviously, there was the big Super Bowl halftime show where Sony played a pretty major role.
I thought it was interesting because NBC and then the NFL itself already have a contract with Sony. So, Sony does so many events and supports so many media, but then also like influencers and other photographers to be at the Super Bowl. Yep. I think I saw Benson Boone with an A9 Mark III in a 70-200.
We're going to sort out your image chain from
start to finish.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, Super Bowl was on Paramount and NBC. So that's already Sony supported. Mm-hmm. And then, shooting on Sony Alpha and Sony Cinema Line.
Yep.
All the way through to watching it on your Bravia. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Full Frame Podcast presented by Sony. Back in the studio with Sean.
It's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
How are you? Long break?
It has been a while. It has been a little while. Yeah, I'm in mufti today. My full frame shirt was a bit dirty, but I am repping Sony Animation Studios.
Cool.
This is did you recognize?
I didn't recognize it, unfortunately.
It's Derpy Cat from K-pop Demon Hunters.
There we go. Shout out. Yeah. What's been happening in the Sony world?
Well, we've been on roadshow. So this is kind of a little inside baseball, but we go around the country when we launch big new products. So A7 Mark V, recent for us, and we do like training with retail staff, this sort of thing. But the other thing we're doing as part of that is we're doing a lot of face-to-face sessions. So we're going to some of our big retail partners, Ted's, George's, Digi's, etc., Camera House, of course.
Yep.
And we're doing in-store appearances with the A7 Mark V. We're also bringing along, some great photographers. You've appeared with us in Sydney. So I guess by the time this airs, we will have done most of the country. But if you're listening on the day we air or the day after, we're going to be in Brisbane. We'll be in Brisbane. Thursday is the day we're doing in-stores. So, yeah, if you're around, if you'd like to rock up and say hi, we'll be in store. Yeah, it's going to be good. We'll have a bunch of cameras. We'll talk a little bit about we'll play the hits, and then we'll do Q&A as well. So if you got anything you want to figure out how to do on the camera, we can help.
Yeah, touch and tries are great just because, especially with the big jumps we've had in ergonomics, like if you're shooting on an Alpha 7 III and you haven't held a 5th gen body or even a 4th gen, you're kind of like, oh wow, like this is like it's a big step in a really, really healthy direction. You're getting the 4-axis tilting screen. Like there's all these new things that you kind of can't look at on a spec sheet.
Totally. Yeah. Until you just experience it for yourself, you don't know.
And we talked about this as well, like blackout free shooting.
Oh, such a game changer. Yeah.
If you haven't experienced that before, like try to get in on a touch and try.
For any kind of fast action, it's absolutely killer.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, just getting in and being able to ask, like really dig down. Some people, I had spent quite a while talking to a couple who were doing, some very specific astro stuff that they wanted to do. And, they were worried about low temperature shooting, about how they could couple for power and remote control. And, that's the sort of stuff which, of course you can read about it, but nothing really beats just being able to sit down and tick through all the stuff that you're worried about. So
yeah, we had a couple that wanted to shoot in very different ways, and then they wanted different custom buttons. And we were like, oh well, there's a workaround. We can assign a set of settings to your custom dial, so that you turn the camera on and one partner's got all their settings the way they want them, and then click to dial 2, and voila, it's like a different camera.
Yeah. That stuff's magic.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing you only really get from talking to a specialist.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to quickly have a chat about new firmware.
Yeah.
There's been 3 new firmware drops since the start of the year, actually. 2 of them are kind of more housekeeping, I would say. So we had the Alpha 7 Mark V, got just a little baby firmware update. So version 1.01. It's just kind of squashing a few, early production bugs. So there was like an issue where the preview image could look like a little bit noisier than it should. And there was another issue where like the power off behavior was a little weird if you had certain network settings enabled. Anyway, look, I think most people will never
just
run into these
operational
issues.
Stability kind of stuff.
You could probably skip this one if you're not experiencing any of those issues. Obviously, best practice, update your camera, but you're not going to miss that much. Second one was the Alpha 7 Mark IV. Yeah. It got version 6.01. So we got version 6 last year.
Yeah.
6.01 just fixes, again, like a power issue.
Okay.
So the note reads, fixed an issue where some products were unable to update to version 6, as well as an issue where products that successfully updated would enter power save mode when the monitor was closed, regardless of the power save by monitor setting.
So it's just like a little setting that was ticked yes or no, and then that was impacting another setting.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll just make it go to sleep as soon as you close the monitor, rather than
following
that being an
optionally
on thing.
Okay.
So anyway,
again, that's so minor.
It's super minor, but it was not intended. So this one just fixes that behavior. And then if you haven't already updated, it'll do the whole whack. So
cool.
Probably the big exciting or relatively exciting one is the Alpha 7S, Alpha 7S 3 going to version 5.
Yeah, so whenever it's a big kind of V5 or, that obviously indicates that it's a bigger update.
There's features.
Yeah, features.
So this is good. I mean, I think this is, the 7S Mark III is like a...
That was like June, July 2020.
Yeah, it is a pretty venerable model at this point. Well, not venerable, but it's getting older. And it's got a lot of nice new features here. So we get vertical layout improvements. So for vertical shooting, I think, it's an older model. It didn't have that stuff built in yet.
Yeah, and a lot of people are using it. Like an S Mark III is kind of a workhorse for, anything from mid-tier to, I've seen it on some high-end stuff too, but for content creators and people that are producing content that needs to be vertical, like everyone I know has an S Mark III.
Yeah, that's it. We got extra large and actually only extra large. Most cameras got extra large and extra small. I think because the A7S is just on that lower res sensor, we've just got the extra large. That's nice to have.
That's the focus area.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, and we've also got the custom focus areas. So that lets you kind of have an arbitrary rectangle of whatever size and shape you want.
Those are really good. The customs, I don't know. I've never, looking at the back of people's cameras when they're using a Sony, I never see anyone using them. But you can have like a vertical, like it kind of looks like a 9x16 kind of aspect, and then there's a much narrower wide field. But for people that are shooting like ball sports or even wedding photographers, like trust me, these are like the two best settings, because if you've got that narrow wide field, it's not going to be focusing in the foreground like on a field.
Yes.
And then it's not going to focus on the background above the players' heads.
Yeah.
And then if you use the vertical version of that, you can shoot straight down an aisle.
Yeah.
And you're only going to get the couple in the middle, but it's going to be able to scan that entire area for an eye.
Yeah.
As opposed to looking all over the screen and, there's every uncle and auntie sticking their iPad out. But those custom ones are so much better than people
really
probably think they are.
Yeah, I think the way to think about them is they're less about saying this is what I want to focus on, and they're more about going like, here's what I want to ignore.
Yeah, and also like my subject will be moving within this zone.
That's right.
And I want you to choose that and focus on it.
Yeah. So really handy.
Really cool.
What else do we get? Some improvements just to media handling. So you get, the simultaneous auto switch stuff just kind of gets displayed a little bit better when you're shooting. There's USB streaming support in the A7S Mark III now.
Cool.
So that's
direct to USB-C.
UVC style.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. We've got the camera authenticity solution stuff is now, compatible with the A7S Mark III. Again, in Australia, not really rolled out yet, but that is something that will be available in the future. Yeah. And then there's also kind of some stuff around this volume photography license, which again, not really something that's huge in Australia yet, but maybe down the road. But yeah, otherwise, I think those are the major upgrades on that one. It's a sort of, not the biggest firmware update we've ever done, but it's definitely nice features to have and stuff that really there's no reason it couldn't be in that camera. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's always a good thing when your camera does receive a firmware update.
That's right.
We're just adding stuff that, peace of mind features that are rolling out across all the newer stuff. It's just nice that they're rolling it back.
Yeah, we take these.
Yeah. What else has been happening in the Sony world?
Well, obviously there was the big Super Bowl halftime show where Sony played a pretty major role.
Yeah.
This is one that you were really kind of excited about.
Yeah. Bad Bunny also. But I thought it was interesting because NBC and then the NFL itself already have a contract with Sony. So, Sony does so many events and supports so many media, but then also like influencers and other photographers to be at the Super Bowl. Yeah. I think I saw Benson Boone with a A9 Mark III in a 70-200, which is funny.
That's awesome.
Just like seeing Sony's involvement in that. And then I was like scrolling and I came across a list of what products were used.
It's wild.
Both from a media side, but then also specifically that halftime show.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of people sharing it on socials and stuff, saying like it's probably one of the best executed or at least the highest quality live streams they've seen of a live event.
Yeah.
Because most live events are, shot in Rec 709. They're shot on a broadcast style camera and it's just HD or something like that. But this broadcast, without rattling off what it was shot on, but it's shot on full-on cinema packages that they've worked to work in a broadcast workflow. And they've even obviously had a colorist as well, or applied a LUT between the shooting and broadcast. However long that delay is, they've embedded it, and then the quality of that whole halftime show was just incredible.
It's absurd, yeah. And you see, these things are such, incredible undertakings. You think
even
of like
from just a production standpoint.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. So you see all the way they had all the grass. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, they basically set up a cornfield in the middle of the stadium with a house, and there was like a ute there, and obviously lots of dancers and all this business. But they had the cornfield they built by having a bunch of people in grass costumes.
Yeah.
And then so the grass the field essentially like runs out onto the pitch.
The field runs out onto the field.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What an incredible way to do that production. But the hardware they had on deck I think was so interesting because to get that cinematic look, they had the Venice 2s, they had the Buranos.
Yeah.
And obviously all that stuff, just rigged to the nines so that they could do dolly shots and all this stuff.
Yeah, and they had a Steadicam op because there's obviously the iconic tracking shot through the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
But there was so many live cuts and the quality is not changing. It's not like a traditional sports broadcast where maybe you have like a goal time or like whenever there's like a score of any description, usually maybe they cut to the nice camera then and then they go back to the broadcast stuff. Whereas this was all live cut,
was all
switching, Venice, Burano,
cinema stuff.
Yeah,
and I think you see it in the finished product. It is interesting because because they have these beautiful sets and they've got so much going on for the camera. They didn't always choose to go for like a really strong background defocus effect. Like you see it from time to time, but actually a lot of the stuff I think must have been shot relatively wide, obviously, but also relatively wide angle, I mean. But then, the aperture looked pretty moderate. Maybe they're shooting f4, f5.6.
The sweet spot for most DOPs.
Yeah.
And focus pullers.
Yeah. It's like when you've got, all these dancers in the background, so much set dressing, so much effort that's gone into that stuff. You don't want to just obliterate it with a bunch of background blur, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you want to show that off.
Yeah.
But look, shooting with that kit, they had the option. They could go either way. I think sorry to run on, but I think like a huge part of why you see these production deals often, it's something that we do at Sony, I don't want to say all the time, but like every so often we'll kind of lock in with a particular production. And I think a big part of it is that that lens to living room sort of concept, right? The idea that there are specialists in different parts of the image chain but Sony specializes in the whole image chain. And so, we're able to approach big partners like the Super Bowl and say, hey, we're going to sort out your image chain from
start to finish.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, Super Bowl was on Paramount and NBC. So that's already Sony supported. And then, shooting on Sony Alpha and Sony Cinema Line, all the way through to watching it on your Bravia.
That's right. But and on top of all that's, because I think those are like the parts of the image chain that are very visible to people.
Yeah.
But then you also have, stuff like transceivers, the stuff to like move the image from the field to the production desk. You've got the actual, production tools themselves. So, vision switching, that sort of stuff, that's also stuff that Sony has a hand in. And although like, as an end user, like you never see that stuff, right? Because why would you unless you're an outfitter?
Yeah.
But you can kind of go the whole way down the chain, and it's Sony gear from here to there.
Yeah.
And
pretty cool.
It's huge. It's huge. And it does mean that a lot of that stuff interlocks really, really well as well.
Yeah. The list, I'll get the list up because it's quite a comprehensive list.
Yeah.
We talked about a little bit about it when we spoke about Australian Open and the Olympics, but Sony was invested in this project across the board, but in a few different ways. So in terms of the actual broadcast, they're using there's 37 Sony HDC series cameras. I don't even know what that is, but I know it's a broadcast system. They're using 37 of those. They're using 18 HDC POV cameras, 5 cinema cameras. So this is probably just for coverage.
Yep.
That's 3 FX9s and 2 F55s.
Yep.
Don't quote me exactly on this list. This is just an article I found.
Yes.
They're using a couple of FR7s. So that's the Sony
the PTZs.
Yeah.
So pan, tilt, zoom. They're like a self-control. Yeah, they're remotely controlled gimbal setup.
Yeah, with the FX6 sensor.
That's right.
Yeah. And then 3 aerial/specialty cameras. So that's like an LR1 and a couple of other HDC cameras. And I've seen, not sure if the Super Bowl had it, but sometimes games will use like the zipline cameras that can run up and down the field, or a drone.
Yeah. And you mentioned they had the LR1 as well.
Yeah.
Which is such an interesting camera. I mean, I think it was one of those ones that people aren't aware of because, again, like it's not really available to the general public, but it's like a pared back version of an A7R Mark IV. So like that's the sensor. It's got the A7R4 62 megapixel sensor, but then it's got like, there's no screen,
buttons,
barely any buttons. There's no viewfinder. It's just there to, essentially be remotely controlled. And actually, like, it's crazy because all of our cameras, they look like, because they are finished products that are ready to handle. But the LR1, it's a part, really.
To be integrated into a package of some description.
That's right. Like it comes with like Molex plugs coming out of the back of it because like you're plugging it into like a Raspberry Pi or something to actually
run it.
Exactly.
That's so interesting.
It's super interesting, and it's used, primarily used in drone systems, right? If you're running a drone to do aerial mapping or whatever, or mineral scouting or whatever you're doing, you can have that camera. It's super lightweight. You can just govern it with whatever you're using to govern your drone, and that all works great. But at the same time, if you're a production company and you have the technology and you've got the people, obviously they've done some amazing stuff with it.
Yeah.
It
would be crazy. I feel like just being there, you'd be looking around and just being like, whoa, there are so many imaging products just so concentrated.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it feels like they must have just had a camera for every single shot, right? Like
every attendee, just like at this point.
Yeah.
So we're already at like well over 50 cameras just working with the actual NBC team.
Mm-hmm.
And then the actual in-venue imaging. So it was at Levi Stadium. Mm-hmm. They've got another 10 Ultra HD HDC cameras, a bunch of FX3s. The Associated Press had 55 alpha bodies and 80 lenses.
Yeah, we separately have a big deal with AP. So
The NFL team itself had 8 Sony cameras and 20 lenses. I don't know how they played with holding them, but sorry, that was bad. And then Pro Support had 45 alpha bodies and 90 E-mount lenses, plus all of the PDT stuff. So that's like the transmitters you were telling me about.
Yeah, gosh, yeah. The transmitters are cool. I mean, it's kind of shooting myself in the foot talking about them because we can't get them in Australia, but they're basically like portable data transmitters. That's what PDT is. They're kind of like a mobile phone, but like with super robust data transmission. They're designed for remote shooting stuff where you want to be pumping your images back to FTP or whatever.
Yeah. And then the fun bit, the halftime show. So I'll start with the low end and work up because we've already mentioned the Venice and the Murano, but there was one FR7, so that's cool. I don't know exactly what shots that was used for.
Yeah.
There were 3 Sony Muranos.
Great. So
lovely, beautiful. I'd love to own 3 of those.
$150,000 worth of kit right there.
Yep. And this is the one that really blew my mind. 11 Venice 2s.
Great.
Not just one Venice 2 and a couple of Venices. It was 11 Venice 2s.
It's wild. So that's I'm just doing some back of an envelope. It's probably like $300,000 worth of camera.
Yeah.
Just before you put a lens or any rigging on any of them.
Yeah, and you've got 11 of them.
Insane.
Yeah. So I just thought that was so interesting that there was such a concentration of digital imaging in one location.
Yeah.
And specifically because I saw so many people outside of the photo video industry saying how good it looked. So that's just insane. I thought that was definitely worth talking about.
I mean, that's the nature of the Super Bowl, right? Like it's so many. It's such a flex for everyone involved, right? Like there's no other like concentration of resources like that.
Yeah.
And even for like $1 billion films, you probably never see 11 Venices in the same place at once.
Yeah, there's probably only maybe 1 or 2 on set, if that.
That's right.
So
maybe you're running 3 units and you got it, but it's there's no reason for that. But of course, Super Bowl, you've got essentially like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're pouring
everything you've
millions and millions of dollars into.
Especially with how big that spectacle is for the US, which is funny because like the rest of the world's kind of like
seems cool, I guess.
Everyone here I know is focused on the Olympics, but I thought it was really worth talking about.
Yeah, no, it was fascinating, really fascinating to see that stuff go on.
Yeah, and within like our own region, like Sony's been working pretty closely with a few different sports, specifically like switching them for FX6s for the goal time shots and stuff like that as well. As opposed to like traditionally broadcast stuff. Yeah.
You see, especially, now that the cameras like the FX6 and the FX3 are so capable, you see them deployed a lot more in areas where previously you only would have seen broadcast style cameras, the small sensor, big zoom style cameras. Now those are much more practical for people to get, in the action with. And, sometimes it's worth not having that crazy zoom. And instead what you get is a lot of production value.
Yeah. And I think people still associate that depth of field change with production value.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
It like when you see it, you're like, oh, wow, that looks good.
Yeah. Oh, this is fancy.
Especially when, like broadcast small sensor, we're used to just everything being in focus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it's big. And, we see it, I think I've told this story before, maybe on the podcast, but at all the Pro Support depots now, we see not just stills photographers coming in; it's a lot of the video production stuff as well.
Yeah,
there's heaps of FX6 and FX3 being deployed for video at Pro Supporting events, and the reality is like we're not just about stills anymore.
Yeah.
All right, I want to pick your brain about something because I've been talking to a mate of mine. I don't know if he listens to this podcast, but if he does, hey Jamie.
I hope he does.
I hope. So he's a guy he's very techie. He does shoot a lot of stills and video. He's like has worked professionally, but it's probably not like his main squeeze. But he is very organized, and he's very specific about how he like keeps his stuff safe. Like he's an archivist.
Okay.
In his soul.
Yeah.
And he has decided that it's time for him to have a NAS.
Yep.
So anyone who doesn't know at home, a NAS is a network accessible storage. It's basically like a little computer with a bunch of drives in it, and it just lives there to like hold your stuff.
Yeah.
To like be an archive.
Yeah.
Usually it's like on site, like it's physically in your house somewhere, probably in a cupboard. And it just sits there with a bunch of spinning disks inside of it.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is the problem that it's solving is a regular hard drive that's inside your computer, like eventually 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the track, it's going to fall over.
Yeah.
Like drives have a finite lifespan.
Especially hard drives.
Especially like magnetic spinning disk hard drives. They just die eventually. And if you have important stuff on there, when they fall over, it's either going to be extremely expensive to get them back or you don't get them back. And so, if you have a NAS, typically you'll have that set up in a RAID. And a RAID is redundant array of independent disks. And that just means like basically you set up a bunch of drives and the data isn't stored sort of in a like we fill this disk and we go to the next one. We fill that one, we go to the next. Instead, you're sort of spreading it across the disks and redundantly, as the name implies. And so then if one of those drives fails, the RAID sets off an alarm, tells you, hey, a disk's fallen over, and you have time to like go to the shops, get a replacement disk.
Yeah.
You pull the broken one out, you slot the fresh one in, and the RAID does a rebuild, which is where it copies, interpolates the data. Essentially, you get everything back, no problems. So if you do it right, and if you maintain it, a RAID lets you have basically completely safe storage of all your stuff.
Yeah.
And especially if you're someone who shoots a lot, you do wind up with enough stuff that like having a bunch of dusty disks on the shelf after a while. I mean, I feel like it is kind of the default storage solution for a lot of us.
Yeah.
But if you are serious about having your stuff backed up and being able to go back to older content, disks on a shelf is not really it.
Yeah, I have this little, I don't know what it came with, but it's a little Lower Pro bag. And I just have it like stacked full of SSDs. And obviously with SSDs to, maintain their life, like you got to fire them up every now and again. Like, otherwise they're just sitting there.
So have you ever dabbled with the NAS concept?
I haven't, only because I'm usually editing on a laptop and I'm moving around a lot. And so far I haven't had any issues, but if I had a dedicated studio space and I was increasing my volume, because I feel like I'm shooting less now than I ever have. One, because I hope I'm being a better photographer and taking less. But also I'm outsourcing a lot of stuff. So I'm shooting for a lot of other people and brands, and then I'm just dropping off a hard drive, send it to them. That's their problem.
Yeah.
I'll keep my keepers if I want anything from the project, but I'm just getting rid of all of that data. So for me, it's not necessary, but say like full-time wedding photographer, production company, anyone doing like real estate or anything where you high volume turning over, like you need to be backing that stuff up.
And I think especially, it depends on who you are, right?
Yeah.
So my friend, he because he has a problem, the problem, to be clear, is not that he needs to back up his stuff. The problem is more to do with acquiring gear. But he's decided that he's going to get like a 12-disc NAS.
How many terabytes are we talking?
We're talking like maybe 30.
30 terabytes?
Something along those lines. In like a RAID 6 configuration for anyone who's keeping score at home. But I'm like, this is small to medium enterprise stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
You're talking about the whole setup is going to cost him about $10,000, I think.
Whoa.
Pretty close to that.
That is a juicy 300 prime.
Yeah.
Sitting right there.
Yeah, for sure. Just the box, right, that everything sits in. Like you've put no hard drives in at this stage.
Just the infrastructure.
That's exactly right. That on its own costs about $3.5 to $4. And then you're adding drives, and it depends. It just becomes like, how much storage do you need? But if they're big drives, you can get up there. So I've sort of I'm trying to talk him down off the edge of buying this.
30 terabytes is huge.
It's a lot. But to be fair, the man's prolific, and if you like this, if you want to be safe,
that's how you do it.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. And it is also nice because, I think when you're shooting and you're just like putting stuff on drives and you're just kind of like storing them as they fill, it's kind of a stressor.
It is. I have a system and it's not perfect.
Yeah.
But it's like, things that I'm currently working on live on my best, fastest drive that I can work off. And then as the projects are finished, they get filtered down from drive to drive to drive. And I'm finding, I've got 30 gigs left on this one, so I can move that project into here. And then it just...
It's tough, isn't it?
It takes me about a day to just like jiggle everything. And then I can be like, oh, sweet, I've got 2 terabytes back. And then rinse and repeat until it's too full, and then you buy the next drive.
And I mean, it's never a great feeling if like a client comes back to you and goes like, hey, like that shoot we did, 24 months ago.
Yeah.
Have you got the stems from that? Like we need another edit. It's nice to be able to go,
yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, let me pull that up.
Oh, for sure.
We'll do a fresh cut.
I think it's extremely relevant right now just because of price changes.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. With the memory specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, what for you, like, what's the threshold? Like, what's the point where you need to go, like, you know what, like, stacking hard drives is not going to be the solution. I need to think about something better.
If you're doing video, I would say, just if you're doing a lot of heavy video, I can keep most of my weddings under 250 gigs a wedding. So if you're buying 1 terabyte hard drives, cool. Like you're filling a terabyte every 4 weddings.
Yeah.
And that will build up. And, you think hard drive costs at the moment, like it's pretty high.
Yeah.
If you're a much heavier video shooter, I know some people that shoot like a terabyte a wedding. And I'm like, oh, if I was doing that, you instantly go and sort out a better solution, like get an ass.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're trying to shoot RAW or something like that, then you're going to be feeling it.
Yeah. I think there is definitely a threshold where it's like, it is probably more economical in the interim to just double stack those SSDs. But like you said, if you're looking at spending anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000 upwards, like I'd want to be booking enough work that you're like, oh, that's chump change.
Yeah.
Not me.
It does have to be. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, you can tax write it off, what have you, but it's real money. Yeah. I mean, I've flirted with the idea of a NAS just because, there came a point where I was like, I'm sick of juggling these hard drives.
Yeah.
But for someone like me, where it's just a convenience factor, the money that it costs to actually just get those things stood up.
But they are network accessible.
Yeah.
Which is really fun because when I shoot with some clients and some other wedding brands, rather than uploading to Google Drive and then them having to download it from Google Drive and doing this whole process, I can just access their network server directly. And then I just upload it and then it's already on their PC.
Yeah.
And that as an option is pretty good.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, we, there's also the cloud stuff, right? That's an option. Even for Sony directly, like we have our C Media Cloud solution. You don't want to be using that as long-term archival necessarily because it is kind of expensive for that.
Yeah.
But for working files, when you're working with a client, it gives you an incredibly easy way to upload to it and then deliver to clients. Here's the next version, what have you. And especially if you're working between a team, it's awesome to have that.
There's a few other tools
accessible.
I know that are probably more compatible with accessories. Like if you're using a monitor like Shinobi, I think the Shinobi Plus. I think any of the monitors that have the Plus in the name, you can actually connect to Frame.io.
Yeah.
And then Frame.io is just like another storage tool like that, but it allows you to like drop markers and, shot marks and stuff like that, where if you're working with a client, they can, we don't like, 13 seconds to 17 seconds. Can we rework this? It's just a workflow tool.
Yeah.
Like doing something that way and using a remote server for that, it's so much better than Do you remember the days where if someone remotely had to edit your project, you'd have to post them the files?
Yes.
And then you'd have to email them the Premiere project so that they can...
or have them come in. They'd have to come to the studio. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think in a lot of people who are working on, Infernos, that sort of stuff, like that's still the way they do that, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the process. But I mean, C Media, you can just sort of send out a Whipster style thing and get people to mark up, hey, let's change this, let's adjust these things, and awesome workflow.
Yeah, that's super cool.
So that's what I'll tell him. I'm going to tell my mate, hey, forget the NAS.
Forget the NAS. For that price tag, potentially let me hook you up the NAS.
With C Media and you'll be set.
That would be cool.
Yeah. All right. Jamie, give me a buzz.
Thanks for tuning in. That was another episode of the Full Frame Podcast presented by Sony, tech and all things storage.
Yeah. It was a fun one. Thanks for having me in.
And is it Bad Bunny or Bad Bunny?
Bad Bunny. I'm not going to attempt the accent.
Okay. See you next week.